everybody. My name is Arana. I am the Managing Director and Chief Learning Officer at Games for Change, and I am really excited to be here with folks who worked real hard over the past year on a very special project that we're going to share with you today. So what I'm going to do is let everybody introduce themselves, and then we're going to dive into a conversation about how the project came to be and the development of it and where it's going. So let's start with Justin. You're right to my right, so let's go ahead and give you a shot.
Hi, Arana. So, hello, everybody. Justin Edwards. I'm the Director of Learning Programs at Minecraft Education Edition. I have responsibility for all the content and the teaching community and all our mentors with my team in the Education Edition. And just to let you know that Minecraft Education Edition is one version of the world's most popular game, Minecraft, and it's designed for schools and children and colleges and teachers around the world. So, great to be here.
And Kiki, do you want to go next?
Yeah, my name is Kiki Fallet. I work for the Nobel Peace Center. A Nobel Peace Center is actually a museum located in Oslo. We are kind of the face of the Nobel Peace Prize. So if you don't know what the Nobel Peace Prize is, it's an annual prize given out in Oslo, Norway. Really, they are given out like 5 Nobel Prizes, but the Nobel Peace Prize is given out here in Oslo each December. And the museum, the Nobel Peace Center, is kind of the face of the Nobel Peace Prize. So we every year show exhibitions about Nobel Peace Prize laureates and everything. So I work here as like a content advisor and also creative. And in this project, I worked with the learning materials and was part of the education team here at the Nobel Peace Center before I got into this new job. So I was really excited when we started to work with this amazing project.
And Cole, do you want to give a little intro?
Sure. I'm Colton Phillips. I'm a game designer on the Minecraft Education team. I build content and features for the client, as we call it. And
Great.
I designed this one.
All right, so maybe we could start with just an overview of what this project is before we get into how it came to be and all that. And I wonder, Justin, if you want to give a little overview of the project.
Yeah, I mean, talking to a little bit on a timeline. It started about a year ago, and thanks to Games for Change, who made the introductions and did the link between Minecraft and the Nobel Peace Center. I think Games for Change has already done some great discussions with the Nobel Peace Center, trying to imagine how to take the story of the Nobel Prizes and the Nobel laureates out to the wider world, and how to do that through game-based learning. So we had an engagement with the Peace Center, and that's where I first of all met Kiki, which was really to try and take the idea of these amazing people, these Nobel laureates who have these unbelievable stories, and their personal stories and their stories about determination and a variety of skills that they bring to take their cause to the greater good of peace in their area or in their community or around the world, and spread that particular message. And so very early on, the project was about taking that idea and bringing it to a game. But simultaneously, we were working on ideas around citizenship. So how do you take the idea of not just an individual knowing their place in society, but how an individual young person or game player can actually give something back to society? How do they actively be part of that? And really, that's where the title very early on sprung to mind, this idea of being active in society and being a citizen, active citizenship. And then that related to the ultimate active citizens, and the ultimate active citizens being these Nobel laureates. And once we had that connection, Minecraft was pursuing a particular path, and the Nobel Peace Center had a long history of that. The whole thing came together of, okay, let's produce a computer game in Minecraft that starts to lift that story for young people and makes them think about becoming active citizens.
And I wonder if, I know Microsoft has a history even before this project of doing projects similar to this, where you're really trying to get kids engaged. And so I wonder, Kiki, if you could speak from the Nobel Peace Center perspective about why games and what you guys were looking for when you came to Games for Change, which we did do a couple kind of ideation sessions before Microsoft. So.
Yeah, it really, for us, it started with like we wanted to reach out with our peace education. We kind of have always since the beginning had a lot of peace education, and every year we have about like 700 school groups coming to our small museum here located in Oslo. But we couldn't like reach out and make kids all around the world take part of that learning experience. So for us, it started with that. We wanted to reach out, and we wanted like early on to find a way to do this. So we started the ideation process, and for us, it was really, really important that we made some content, made something we could reach out with that are part of like our learning strategy, and also like our ideals, which is like experience-based learning. At the museum, we like always aim to give the kids experiences and make them take part of like the 4-dimensional space a museum could give. So for us to make experience or find some way to reach out other than just making videos and making that kind of content was really important. So after a few ideation processes, we found you guys at the Games for Change, or we were introduced to Games for Change, and started this process to find out if we could make a game, because that's the ultimate way of engage kids in the digital space. So I think games were like our solution to make experience-based learning in out of our peace education. So I think that was that's why we started this project.
Yeah.
And Arana, you could probably tell more about what we initially came to.
Yeah, it started as we were introduced, and it started as a workshop, right? I mean, a colleague of mine and myself ran a workshop with a group of people from the Nobel Peace Center. Kiki was was one of them, but also I think other people from the education department and communications and marketing, right? And to really think about how you guys might be able to take all of the amazing stuff you had and really try to reach a broader audience, a younger audience, in some kind of a digital way. And we did land on a game, which was not really that surprising given the fact that Games for Change is deeply invested in the game space. But we did land on this idea that a game would be a really valuable way to try to reach young people with these stories. And early on in the process, it became an idea around how to activate young people, right? Like it was not enough to kind of teach them about the stories of the Nobel laureates, but it was really about how do you bring those stories to them, but also help them uncover the kind of common threads that can be pulled through their life and the laureate's life, even though those lives are really different. And so Minecraft was a natural fit. It felt really natural. I think we even said it like in the first meeting. We were like, "Oh, this would be so cool if we could do this in Minecraft," and it all kind of worked out. So I think it would be a good right now to kind of give a little overview of the game and the gameplay. So I wonder if either Justin or Cole, maybe Cole, this is a good place for you to kind of jump in and tell us how the game how as a player you interact with the game, and then we can maybe move on to some of the decisions that were made and why they were made.
Sure. Well, the game is a celebration, if you will, of very, very famous laureates. You begin the game, the player, as you coming to the Nobel Peace Center, the museum. You arrive at night, so it's a private party for you, and you come inside, and there's a what would you call it? An installation, a gallery with that has basically 4 dioramas, set pieces for the laureates, and you interact with them, and in a magical night at the museum moment, the laureates step out of the paintings and come to life, and tell a little bit about themselves, and then pull you into their story. And through that, you get to visit important events in these laureates' lives, and learn what they have to teach through gameplay. It's tried to not make it what I call a museum build, which is ironic because it's literally in a museum. But a museum build is typically one that shows you, and we wanted you to be, engaged with it, and we wanted you to experience it. So you'll travel to, Pakistan and meet Malala, and Russia, meet Nansen. So you travel to those places and meet up with those guys and experience what they did. So
maybe we can talk a little bit about how those
Sure.
laureates were chosen and that process, Kiki or Justin. I know that was definitely a collaboration between the two of you. So
Yeah, it definitely was. I think for me, the process was, in the process, it was really important for me to find 4 different laureates that all 4 were different examples of active citizens, that they haven't done the same kind of thing to become active citizen, but they were like 4 different examples, 4 different topics. So for me, that started a process to like find a puzzle of laureates that could fit the game. I just could think of like, we have like 137 different Nobel Peace Prize laureates, so it's kind of a puzzle, and I wanted like it to be diverse, like in gender, age, where they were from in the world, and also like what kind of tool they were using to get their causes through. So it was really a huge puzzle for me. So I just wrote down all of these categories of laureates, and I think that's when we called Justin and the team at Microsoft to like tell them about our laureates. And of course, I wanted to have some of the icons, like the iconic Peace Prize laureates, to be part of the game. That was some sort of angle for me as well.
Yeah, and I think then Kiki handed over a slide deck of about 14, 15 laureates, narrowed down. And we kind of went through a democratic process really inside the team. We looked at all of them, we gave our views, and we were looking for a number of things, the same way Kiki, kind of diversity in character, diversity in background, diversity in area of the world, diversity in gender, age, that was in that list. But also what stories or narratives would make great gameplay. And how could that then be translated into Minecraft gameplay, particularly? How could Minecraft as a game lift the story of the individual character? And then the kind of diversity in gameplay. So, it isn't just 4 similar stories with inside that. And this is before we're even into kind of game design. What does the narrative appear out of that? And so we went through a process and went back to kind of Nobel and Kiki and the team with a rank order of things that we felt would work. One of the characters was Malala, as Cole mentioned, and we had done Malala in a previous game called Good Trouble, which was hugely successful. So we had a really good understanding of Malala's story and how that could translate into Minecraft. So that one was pretty easy. And I think I remember Cole kind of contacting me and saying that, yeah, we did Malala before. It'd be great to even improve on where we were with that previous story. So that one was kind of in the bag very, very early on. I think then as we progressed, becoming familiar with Wangari, for example, and that story. And it's a really rich, deep story about community, but also greenification and climate and about Africa. And so that one certainly started to appeal. So those 2 were probably easy. I think some of the historical ones were more challenging. I think we debated for quite a long time on the older characters and how to, or the older Nobel laureates in history, and which one had the best fit. But I think the Nobel Peace Center landed on Nansen, on the basis that Nansen was Norwegian, and there was an anniversary coming up for Norway, and so it just seemed to have a natural fit when Nobel, and then I think Nobel came back when we were looking through those characters in modern times, and we were down to a few, but I think Nobel came forward then with the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, it sounds about right. And I was really happy with those 4 laureates in the game. I think it was a really, really good choice.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is interesting, and I think in a little bit we'll talk a little more about the learning materials, is that the learning materials that were developed by the Nobel Peace Center with the support of Games for Change had they had 2 parts to them really. One part was thinking about the history and understanding the history of this laureate and what they did, but the other part, like we talked about at the beginning, was about really how can kids see themselves in this laureate, like, and how can they use the tools and the kind of the activities that those laureates did to bring peace to the world. How did they or to make change, how did they use those tools, and could youth use those tools as well? And so one thing that I think is really special about the laureates that you guys chose is that they all really did have different tools and ways of doing things. So for youth who are coming to the project, there's a lot of entry points, right? Like they know some of the laureates, so that's an entry point. There are new ones to learn about. They may be interested in how to use social media to make change. They may be interested in how to create campaigns to make change. Like there's a lot of different ways for them to come into the game and be really engaged, and which I think is really special. Is a really special part of the creation. So I'm wondering, if you guys want to talk a little bit about this. So we talked a bit about how the laureates were chosen and how they kind of led to more compelling gameplay. I'm wondering about how do games, I think educational games in particular, it's a really tall order to be able to balance, the fun of gameplay and history, or the stuff that people need to learn. And so I'm wondering, maybe Cole, if you want to talk a little bit about how you kind of think about that balance between, it's Minecraft and kids expect something from Minecraft, but then there's also all this kind of heavier historical context, and how do you kind of bring those two together inside the game?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it. I mean, that's the beauty of Minecraft, is it's so much what you bring into it. But over the last couple of years, we've really developed a lot of our in-game tools for Education Edition, and pushing them out into regular Minecraft as well. But tools that we can use in game to tell a story more, and things like NPCs and boards. Like we're just able to really provide a narrative, which a couple of years ago would have been really difficult to actually make this game. As far as what I like to do, I had mentioned earlier museum build. Museum build to me is something like where you build something and show it, and the kids kind of walk through, and you can make a good museum build. But typically, I mean, being a game designer, I like to make things kind of gamey and exciting and memorable. That's just what you do. And I found that when we make a game that has gameplay elements that are fun and memorable, that the learn sticks better, right? So with this game, we kind of we had the laureates at this point, and tried to just come up with situations where we could personify what they were doing in gameplay. Like it's easy to say when Gary planted trees, and we could plant trees in Minecraft, but we have to kind of gamify that, right? Even more, still keeping it true, like you said, in Minecraft, but also, make it kind of accessible, or not accessible, but accessible. You want to be able to tell that you finished something, right? You want to move the progression of the story. And with some of the characters, like Nansen, he'd done so much. We really had to kind of pinpoint an area of what was the most important thing, or at least what is one of the things we wanted to share. Original concepts we had, all these ideas, and he was an explorer, and he went to the Arctic, and but we thought that as far as the active citizen part, passing it, getting those passports, Nansen passport was the most important thing.
But I think that was a really good choice also because like the Nansen passports was why he won the Nobel Peace Prize. So I think that was really, for us, it was really, really great that you chose that path to follow.
Yeah, there was a lot of some areas we have multiple game types, but for the most part, when we locked in on a concept. If we felt it could stand as a concept, on its own, like for Malala, we thought, how do you feel like, how do you get that danger feel? What, she was in a really dangerous situation. And so, so I worked with, on this game, usually we partner, with a team to make a game. We were really lucky on this game to actually work internally with, my old design brothers on Central Creative. So it was a little reunion of our team. And, Robin Vincent and Steve Enos, we got together and we kind of came up with all these ideas. And so, with Malala, to get that sense of danger, it was like, how about stealth? Like we want to, she was trying not to be detected by the Taliban. So how about we give the player that same kind of experience? Now, the reality of it is it didn't happen quite the same way. She wasn't sneaking through the streets like a spy, but that gives you that same feeling of the danger that she probably felt just going to school every day. So, and her diary was a very important part. So we had you collecting the pages, and by being able to find that written word, and include it as part of the gameplay, you're telling her story in a way that the player, like, doesn't just need to read, they want to read it. They're like, it's pushing them, they're compelled to know the story of what they're doing, rather than just coming up and reading, hi, I'm Malala. This is like you're with her, and finding those pages is really important.
I think that the language and the vocabulary in the game was one of the hardest parts. So you have this gameplay and you have these amazing vistas and beautiful characters in art design, but trying to get the narrative right, so that first of all it represents that character in the game, it tells their story, but the language is also accessible, so that children of all ages and adults can come to the game and understand it. That it's not explicit. The message of the laureate is implicit inside that, so that you walk away from the game having enjoyed playing it, having enjoyed playing Minecraft, having enjoyed playing Malala or Wangari or Nansen or the Dalai Lama, but it makes you think. And I think that point where young people finish the game and you can see it strikes them afterwards. Oh, so that's what Wangari did for Kenya and the forests. And it's the narrative in some sense that sticks in there and triggers that thought process.
It's also
and also also I think kind of stepping into those worlds of the laureates is kind of a huge thing in itself, that you like experience the world of Malala or experience the world of Wangari Maathai. I think Colton told me earlier that you like to build out those incredible worlds just so the kids could give them experience of how it looked like. So I think that you did a really, really great job with making those worlds. Or when you're going to Malala's world, I really felt like I was in the Swat Valley in Pakistan. So it was so amazing, and I think that's good in itself, just to be there.
Yeah, I was just about to say that that beyond the deep educational impact that the game has the potential to have, I think it's also very beautiful, right? Like, it's just a very beautiful game. And so I did want to shift us to talk a little bit about the design. I know there are several stories that we all could share about the Nobel Peace Center, what it looks like in the game, what everything else looks like. So I just sort of wanted to see if we had some thoughts about the kind of beauty of the game. I mean, and the realistic kind of nature of the build.
Yeah, and the building itself.
Yeah. Maybe Justin, maybe you could tell us about when you went to Oslo for the first time.
Yeah, I live normally just outside Belfast in Northern Ireland, and so I'm not that far away from Norway. But I'd never had opportunity actually to visit the Nobel Peace Center. But I think when we kicked off this game originally, I felt that I wanted the game to start in Oslo at the Nobel Peace Center because we wanted to create a strong connection between the virtual and the real. That young people could be brought to this, but they could then visit a place, and that made a connection to the places of the laureates as well. So you weren't just visiting this one place as you visited these other places. These were real settings. The Swat Valley from Malala, as Kiki said, was just beautiful and immersive, but you felt a stronger connection by starting off at the Nobel Peace Center. So we'd set that out, and Steve, who works with Cole, really set about building the Nobel Peace Center. We built it from photographs that actually Kiki took. She wandered around the building taking photographs for us, and gave a video walk.
Actually, right now, I'm sitting in one of those towers in this meeting. Yeah.
And when I was first presented with, I think, like kind of an early design of that, immediately it came to life, and I got it. But then, obviously, for the launch, we launched it at the Nobel Peace Center in Oslo, and I attended. And having never attended this place before, and without even looking at a map, I went for a walk down the street, and bang, there's the building. And I knew the building from Minecraft because we actually built out this kind of courtyard. So I knew like my way to navigate around this courtyard just because we built it in Minecraft. So the relationship between game and real world was very fixed at that point. We knew we'd really nailed it. And then, as Cole said, the kind of decision to take it to the nighttime to make it that unique experience, because the Nobel Peace Center is closed at night. But here through the game, you can immediately go in beyond the real. The virtual just adds another element that you can go to this place when other people can't.
Yeah, it was a happy accident. We when we were lighting, you're building the world and you light it, like a set, so to speak. And when we were lighting it, our light looked better with the lights off and putting spotlights inside, inside the center. And we're just like, oh, this is a night at the museum vibe going on here, and it helped us frame that whole kind of narrative. And that's where that came out of. It was a fun organic process to evolve. Those worlds are really beautiful. It's important, I think, to build out to the edges. Steve's one of the best builders in the biz, in my opinion. And so, I mean, he pretty much single-handedly built all that terrain so that you do feel immersed. You don't feel like you're in a box or a set. Like, he took it to the edges of the world. So he did a really great job. The idea of having the Nobel Center as the hub, the spoken hub, we do that a lot for a lot of our games, because it gives players an opportunity to pick where they want to go when they want to go, instead of it just being a linear experience from start to finish. So that was just such a perfect place to start at your home base, your airport, if you will, to travel out to those different destinations. And I agree with you, Kiki. It was the build really helped with the immersion. We did a lot more detail than we would in a normal map. Tried to include unique like posters, and like when you're in Pakistan, we have posters, and tried to create like the feel of like a busy marketplace in Pakistan. And the architecture in Russia has those classic, those, I don't know what they call those domes, but they're built perfect, and you really get a feeling of where you are in every level.
Yeah, and actually, inside the Nobel Peace Center in Minecraft, you have made some details that are really accurate. You could look inside the museum shop in the game, and it's really similar to the shop at the Nobel Peace Center. It's red.
That was a late night
Iconic
edition.
red. Yeah.
But I was
Okay.
I was just listening to a podcast, and someone was saying detail is the key to success. And I've always just kind of said that, it's like, oh, I have a good attention to detail is important. It's just always been something, and I feel like that's probably just a game designer trait, because we're all like that. I mean, me and Steve and Robin working together again, we were just riffing on all this stuff constantly. We wanted it to be, very accurate and really give you that feeling of being in all those places, even though it's in Minecraft. Minecraft has a not a very realistic look, but it's also a medium where you can like kind of paint any picture. Again, it's the beauty of Minecraft. So we were able to get that in, and the gift shop. When we came up with the idea of the Night at the Museum kind of angle and closing stuff, we just thought, oh, okay, well, we could put those little velvet ropes in front. And so, I made these little velvet ropes, which aren't something that really exists in Minecraft, but they fit right at home in the museum, and we were able to.
We have those velvet ropes.
Yeah,
actually, at the Nobel
we
Peace
use
Center.
those as barriers because not to get into like a game design discussion, but I don't like when you just walk into a wall, right? And back in the early days of 3D gaming, like that was very common. You reach the end of the world and your guy just keeps trucking into a visible wall. Well, we've come a long way, so we don't need to do that. If you can't get to something, I like to explain why you can't get to something. And but we did want to show that. And there's a gallery on the other side where just to match like what you guys have in the real museum, where we decided to just make a little like coming soon section. You can see pictures of like some little artworks inspired by the laureates. You can see a picture of Malala, like a mosaic, and there's it was really fun to decorate that place. That was a really good time. It was really exciting, and I think I mentioned this to you guys before, but I'll talk about it now. Is when you work on one of these projects, I've worked on a lot of like third-party IPs and for making games for a lot of companies over the years, and you really get into what you're making, and I don't know, you get really absorbed into it, and so diving into this and learning about all these people, it was a great experience for me, because yes, I was familiar with all those people, but I wasn't familiar with Nansen. I didn't know him. I had heard of like I knew it like the Nansen bottle or whatever, but I didn't know about the Nansen passport. But
that was one of my hidden agendas with this game, to have everyone learn about this Norwegian
he was such a fascinating guy too, and he had done so much. And I mean, this is the stuff that when we dive in, and I mean, if it was anything that you tackle, you just jump in and you learn about it as much as you can to make the best product. But it's such a, like, I don't know, for me, it's such an enriching experience to learn all this stuff, to be forced to learn all of it. It's I don't know if my air quotes showed up, forced, but yeah. And so I don't know, that was one of the best parts for me, is getting to dive in.
But I think one of the coolest details was to have Alfred Nobel, like the inventor of the Nobel Peace Prize, to be the receptionist of the museum. That was so cool, I think.
No, I was just going to say, there's also a really kind of cool connection with Alfred. I don't know that everyone will know Alfred Nobel's history and what he did prior to the founding of the Nobel Peace Prize, but there's a cool connection between Minecraft as it stands as a sandbox game and Alfred Nobel's history. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about that?
I think that's so there's some interesting stuff we discovered, and talking about kind of Cole saying that we went deep and discovered about all these characters and their history. So Alfred Nobel, obviously inventor of dynamite. He invented many things, and I think one of the interesting things about Alfred Nobel was that some of his inventions just didn't work. He was always this person that tried things and kept trying things, and experimenting all the time and trying to get there, and suddenly, with determination, came across this invention that changed the world, and through that invention, became an extremely wealthy individual through it. But the invention was dynamite, and there's a connection with the game because we have TNT in the game, and those who kind of know there is a difference, but there's a love for kind of TNT for the Minecraft creative player. Young children love taking it and setting it off and making their various builds and creations explode, and it just creates delight and laughter when you're with inside the game. And so being able to connect that character back to TNT and Dynamite in some way was a really natural fit with what we were trying to achieve in the game. But Cole took it a step further because he put it right there in the reception. And I won't give it away, because I think people need to go and play. I think people need to go and play the game and experience that for themselves. But as Kiki said, placing him again, that wonderful thing you can do with the virtual, placing him at the reception. So you walk through the door and he's there to immediately greet you and set you on your way of this path of discovery. I kind of like to think that he would have approved of it. He would have had this wry smile, understanding how he appeared.
I really think so.
I remember when Justin first was like, "Yeah, we have TNT. He made TNT." It was like this moment where and TNT became. So I mean, we're a little goofy, and me and Steve the AC/DC song, TNT, but I don't know if you have to pay for that. But we started. I mean, we literally named our resource packs TNT. Like it became like the backbone of the game for us. And so if you play the game, there's a couple TNT related Easter eggs that you might find throughout the game. It kept us going when we're working late nights to have these little Easter eggs and these little gags, and like Justin said, I think he would appreciate it too. The thing with him being the guy at the beginning, the original idea we had kind of wanted was, how they'll have the bronze kind of statues, right, of these famous historical figures, and we wanted to have the statue, and then when you approach it, it comes to life and it starts to become like a real life person. That proved to be a little harder to do than we thought in Minecraft, and that's actually through that. So the idea of having Nobel, like a statue of Nobel, become it, to greet you, that ended up being the inspiration for the players. I mean, for the laureates coming out of the painting, because we still wanted to have that magical moment that you knew that something was fun and playful, and it wasn't just that you were watching a film reel of these guys. We wanted them to be coming to life and pulling you in. And again, the original idea was maybe that you were going to walk into their worlds, and we thought having them come out into your world and then take you to their world was a good way to do that.
So the game launched in March, right? It was March, yeah. And do you want to talk a little bit about how the reception, how it's been doing, and the resources that are available? Because this audience does include a lot of educators, so we want to point them in the direction of finding the game and resources and things they should know. So I wonder, Justin, if you want to talk a little bit about how it's been going, and Kiki, if you want to talk a little bit about the resources available.
Yeah, I think we knew. We put all the effort into building this beautiful game, and Colton, the design team, did that, and Kiki working on the learning materials. So there was a lot of effort, and we knew that the narrative of peace was ever so important and continually important, and important for young people. Young people need to be able to access hope and access the ideas of what makes peace and how does peace come about and how is it kind of brought about by these individuals who don't have superpowers. They're just people, but they're people with skills that they use particularly well. And when we launched it, we thought, we'll obviously did a big launch, but it really gathered an awful lot of pace around the world. Love for it. We're in over 110 countries, and within the first month of putting it out there, I think there was evidence of somebody in one of those 110 countries had come to this game to play it. So the reach of the story took it again from this kind of physical place in Oslo and just pushed that story around the world with hundreds of thousands of downloads just in the first month of play. So it was a really strong opening performance. But then we got a swell of opinion, particularly from the gaming press. So the gaming press writes stories about game releases and things like Halo or Forza coming out, and they talk about the gameplay and the 3D design and the graphics. Here they talked about how gaming was changing the narrative, how this narrative was still fun and approachable and enjoyable and Minecrafty, but you went away thinking about the topic of peace and thinking about how change is achieved and how that would reach out to all players. What's really interesting about the game is that adults actually, when we trial it and we play it with adults, they struggle to make their way through it. You can see them becoming frustrated with some of the activities or some of the tasks.
Just remember when I just smashed some of the animals in the Dalai Lama.
From an adult perspective, and we were concerned, and then we put it in front of children, and children just fly straight into it. And I remember when we launched it, we had Kiki had connected us with a school in Oslo. This wonderful school of children came along and played it, and they were completing it 3 or 4 times in the time that we'd said in the launch. And then they started going off trying to understand how it was built. They wanted to understand, how did it work? Why did it work that way? What was going on inside the game? So we knew from a gameplay and engagement point of view, we'd really tapped into something with young people. And I think that's one of the kind of key lessons with this is that we're not designing it for the adult story of the Nobel laureates. We're designing it for young people and for young people to reach into that story. And I think we'd really tapped into that.
Yeah, agreed. I think so. And also, I think what we learned from those young people at that school in Oslo was that they were really, really interested in the characters after they have played the game as well. So that really was surprising to me, I think. So, but this is kind of the best thing for us when we are making learning materials, because the kids want to learn about them after they have played the game. So when we made the learning materials, we at the Nobel Peace Center, together with Games for Change, work really closely to make those learning materials. We made like kind of 5 lessons on each of the characters in the game. Like Vangari Matai, we made this lesson about grassroots movement and environment. And Nansen, we aim to teach the student about entrepreneurship and also like Malala, freedom of expression, and so on. So I think we worked a lot to make those 4 lessons seem familiar at the same time as you could teach them different kind of topics and also different kind of tools and mindsets. So I was really, really happy with what we managed to do together, Arana. I think it was really powerful, and we done those lessons and also a bunch of materials as well.
We're running out of time because this conversation could go on and on and on. I agree. I think it's a really nice ecosystem that has been created between the game and the learning materials and the support for educators. So I would encourage anyone and everyone out there to check it out. And so I think we have to stop, but I want to thank all of you, Justin, Kiki, and Cole, for joining us today. And everyone should definitely check out the game and check out Minecraft and Nobel Peace Center and all of the work that you guys do, because it's awesome. So thank you very much.